pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I move to open the public hearing that was continued from March 26th, the modification to the special permit for the Newbury Golf Center, 131, 133, 151 Scotland Road. The assessor's map R43, lots 2, 11, and 4B. Applicant Eric Sorensen, President, Newbury Golf Center, Inc., granted by the Selectman on November 15, 2017. The applicant requests approval of a proposed plan to restore areas of disturbance outside the approved limit of work for the project, as shown in the drawings entitled 131, 133, 151 Scotland Road, Disturbance Plan of Land, Sheet 1 of 1, dated April 9, 2018, and 131, 133, and 151 Scotland Road, Buffer Zone Mitigation Plan, Sheets 1 and 2 of 2, dated April 30th, 2018, and described in supporting documents prepared by Meridian Associates and LEC Environmental Consultants, Inc. The applicant also requests release of a stop work order in order to implement the remediation plan and stabilize the overall site.
Okay. Second, all those in favor of opening the public hearing?
Aye.
Due to Jeff's continued recovery, I would like a motion to continue this public hearing to 4/9/29 at 7:15 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
What was the time?
7:15.
Thank you. 4/9.
4/9.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Sorry.
I'm not going to be here tonight, so I won't represent. I have a conflict that day.
Okay.
Yes.
Just let Martha know. Martha, do you
I
already
did.
know? Thank you.
Good job.
Tracy, she's coming up.
I thought she was coming up, but she may have thought we'd take longer with the continuation of.
Yes. So tonight we'll have a review and vote on the town meeting warrant.
Should we go over the correspondence first?
Yeah,
Do you have this for the report of the chairman or no?
not for right now, no.
Want me to text him?
I texted her.
Oh, okay.
There's a letter from Comcast, do we want to read that?
Yeah, take it away.
So, anybody interested in
Are you coming? Okay.
cable pricing?
All right,
The
thanks.
the Department of Telecommunications and Cable Department will hold a public and evidentiary hearing pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws 166A, Section 15, and 207 CMR, Section 6.03, to investigate the proposed basic service tier programming, equipment, and installation rates in rate-regulated communities in Massachusetts served by Comcast Cable Communications LLC, Comcast, in response to Comcast file. So they filed saying that they want to go up in their rates, and now they're having a public hearing. To anybody that's interested in going to speak about it. The hearing will be held at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, May 21st, 2019, in hearing room 1E at 1000 Washington Street, Boston, Massachusetts. And as a formal adjudicatory hearing conducted under General Laws, Chapter 30A. Comcast, as the cable operator serving the community, is required to arrange for notice of the hearing, both by newspaper publication and by cable casting. A copy of the hearing notice that Comcast is required to publish is enclosed with information on purposes. If you have any questions or comments regarding the hearing procedures, please contact Rosalie Fazio, I don't even know how to say that last name, Leva, at Rosalie, ROSALIE .Fazio, FAZIO, at mass.gov, or at 617-368-1135. A party that wishes to intervene must file its petition to intervene with the department by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, May 7th.
And the hearing, The hearing itself will be taking place Tuesday, May 21st.
Yeah.
At
that one was
11
asked.
a.m.
Okay, moving into town meeting warrant. Article 1, to meet in our respective voting districts on Tuesday, May 14th, 2019. The polls will open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. Vote on the following offices. Selectman, 3 years. Assessor, 3 years. Board of Health, 3 years. Constable, 4 years. Constable, 2 years. Fish Commissioner, 3 years. Library Trustee, 3 years. Planning Board, 5 years. Planning Board, 3 years. Planning Board, 1 year. Triton Regional School Committee, Newbury, 3 years. Triton Regional School Committee, Newbury, 2 years. Triton Regional School Committee, Rowley, 3 years. Triton Regional School Committee, Salisbury, 3 years. And trustee of the First Settlers Burial Ground, 3-year term. Any discussion? All those in favor, Article 1?
Aye.
Aye. So, hang on, I get caught up late at work, just let me make sure my ring is off here. Thank you. Article 2, to receive the reports of the Selectmen, School Committee, regular special committees, and all other town offices to take any other action in relation thereto. Discussion. Good. In favor of Article 2?
Aye.
Article 3, to see if the town will fix the salaries and compensation of certain elective officers of the town as follows. Town moderator, $500. Board of Selectmen, each member, $7,500. Board of Assessors chair, $3,500. Board of Assessors member, $2,500. Town clerk, $61,129. Tree warden, $5,000. Fish commissioner, each member $1,300. Planning board chair $1,500, and planning board members $1,000. Any discussion on Article 3?
I wonder if at some point, I don't know if we want to do it now, but I think the chairman of the selectmen has a lot more time that he has to spend in this building, and I think making the chair, like the planning board chair, slightly higher stipended makes sense. So I don't know if that's something we would want to act on now, but it's definitely something that I've been thinking about.
Well, it entails a lot. I feel like the pay's fair. I also rely on you folks on the board, for a lot. You guys really take up the slack, so, I guess I'm neutral as far as that notion goes.
I have a question about the planning board. Were those supposed to be changed, those salaries?
No.
I thought I saw a meeting,
I don't believe planning received no stipend previously,
they were-
correct?
Yeah, this is,
Just
This is the first year.
This is the
It
first
was
year.
voted at
It
the last
was
meeting,
voted.
but this
This
is the first year, so
okay.
that's probably.
sorry, that's what I
Right,
was
so
thinking.
that's another job that gets very entailed with all the things they have to dig into in the public hearings and it's
They do
being on
put a
planning.
lot of time into it, that's
Yeah,
why.
tons of time put into planning.
Mhm.
Any other discussion on Article 3?
I think Damon's idea has merit. The last time that happened was when Andrew was chair. And I think the other selectmen actually gave him their salary to him. So it's something to be looked at. It's not precedent setting, it has been done before. But, and the question, of course, then is what?
Yeah.
Do we add to it? Do we take from ours to put to that? And I'm comfortable either way, whatever the board wants to go.
I don't think seeing the other members get a deduction would be proper. We all take an equal amount of abuse.
No.
I don't know that that's true. My driveway's longer than yours.
But I think it warrants looking into, I really do.
Well, how about, I move that we add the chairman as a separate pay at $8,500 a year.
You gonna make a motion on that to put it on, to change this? Is it too
Yeah.
late to change this article? That's what we're doing tonight, right?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
so
okay.
we can discuss it not do it, but I figured if I make the motion now, we can actually say, is that the right number? Is it something we wanna do now? So I've made the motion. If no one seconds it, we consider it dead.
Make your motion.
I move that we pay the chairman of the board of selectmen $8,500 annually.
Okay, I will second that for discussion.
I'd rather have the whole board here to discuss that before we do something like that.
Well, we won't have an option before this. This is our last day to discuss this, right?
Unless you can have another meeting, we have to post it a little more than a week before.
We don't want to.
We're not having a special town meeting this time, we're just having the annual, so it doesn't have to be the full 2 weeks. You could take it up at your next meeting if you wanted to, but I don't think you'll have a full board then.
Jeff has to be calling into that meeting. At least we hope he is going to be calling into that meeting.
It's just an annual, 7 years.
You're ambivalent about it?
Yeah. I'm not comfortable voting for my own,
Yeah, I understand that.
and I certainly wouldn't want a deduction from the other members.
Salaries. Yeah, I just feel like I've seen how much work you put in, I saw how much work Jeff put in, I feel like it deserves recognition.
I appreciate that.
So,
Any other discussion? Guess I'm not really sure how to wrap this one up.
well, I think we can vote and 2 of us could vote it and that would be enough if you abstain. Or we can table it till the next meeting.
All right, why don't we do that? I'll abstain. You folks can.
All right,
All right, you want to table
I'm happy to table it, but I
it?
think.
Okay, then motion to table.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, so do we approve of Article 3 as read?
We tabled it.
So we'll just table it till the
Yeah.
next. Okay, fair enough. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds or otherwise provide to meet the salaries and wages of town officers and employees, expense and outlays of town departments, and other sundry and miscellaneous, but regular expenditures necessary for the operation of the town for the fiscal year 2020. General government, $2,321,126. Public safety, $3,075,696. Education, $10,212,748. DPW, $1,274,606. Human Services, $319,532. Culture and Recreation, $288,258. Debt Service, $1,139,840. And benefits, $1,732,456, for a total budget of $20,364,262. We'll take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 4?
Second.
Okay, just any discussion?
Well, are we gonna ever look through this book? Are we gonna talk about this when, because the finance committee's not here tonight?
Another meeting Tuesday night.
So usually, I know in the past, we've all sat around the table and talked about this book.
They plan to be here, but didn't Tuesday meeting.
Yeah, I saw that. So what do you think the best way?
However you wanna do it, you can join that.
I mean, I familiarized myself.
You didn't have any questions at all?
I've met with Tracy and asked some questions.
Okay.
She formulates a budget, so figured who better to
All right,
grill
well,
about it.
I don't wanna take up time from this meeting tonight, but will you want me to ask questions now?
However you
Yeah.
wanna do it. Or we can do joint Tuesday, whatever works. You can table this one too. if you want.
Table the general budget and include them in our Tuesday meeting,
Sure.
if they're posted.
Oh, you have a public hearing next Tuesday,
We do at 7:15.
meeting at 7.
And It does, I can be available after the public hearing, it doesn't much matter.
I mean, if you want to discuss it with FinCom, I would say we can ask them if they can wait till after the public hearing.
Well, I don't need to necessarily discuss it with FinCom, but I have some questions in this, and I'm really not comfortable voting on it until I get the questions answered.
We'll go.
Understood.
So that's kind of, do you want to, I mean, I can, if you don't mind going through it tonight.
Not at all.
No,
Okay.
that's why we're here, it's not even 7 yet.
That's what we're doing.
Okay, so, and some of this is probably just really quick.
Sure.
On the Town of Newbury organizational chart,
Yep.
there's a, under public
There's a
safety.
typo, there's 2 chiefs.
Yeah, okay. I
That's a
didn't know
typo.
if there was gonna be a new position.
No.
Okay. Let's see.
We don't
those-
need 3
Those
chiefs.
kinds of, I'm like, who's gonna, all right, so that's that question. Let me see.
That's already brought to my attention.
On page 2 of your transmittal letter, under number 3, to maintain your reason affordable place to live and operating business, it is anticipated that due to relatively stagnant revenue outlook and a shift in education funding formula, in which the Triton District communicates will be required to find more of the operating budget costs, Newbury will be proposing a general override.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
No,
Okay, so
that
that
should
should
come
time
out. I think just, can I review this real quick and make sure we have the right letter?
Which one?
That was one of my other typos as well, because it's nowhere else mentioned.
Yeah, I think it's,
Nope, the rest of it's right, that sentence should just come out.
okay.
There is no override issue.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I carried forward. Okay, so that's. The update of the pavement management plan for the roads?
Yep.
Do we have any idea when that's gonna be complete? Like what year we?
We do it every year. He updates it every year. We have the initial pavement management plan that
Yeah.
was prepared by Beta. And then James, every single year, updates the program, and that's how he determines which roads he's gonna perform maintenance or,
So do we have any idea as to when every road is gonna be complete in the town?
there's
They never
never
are.
gonna be a day when every road is
It's kind-
complete, cause you
It's kind of like painting
start
the Golden
over.
Gate Bridge, by the time you get to the end of it, it's about time to start over again. I think we have like 52 miles of road.
We
Yeah,
have
6
completed over 80% of our main roads.
Yes.
Yeah,
But not of the, all of the town roads, but you're right, by the time, we finish, then you're starting.
okay.
That's, you'll see later on in the, line item budget that they're requesting a crack sealer.
Yeah,
And that's something that they feel, being able to do the maintenance themselves, they'll get a longer useful life out of the roadways.
all right, cause I know
Joys
there's
of
some,
living in New England with
This-
frost.
there's some side roads that haven't been paved at all. Yeah,
I'm sure,
Some of them
yeah.
have.
I'm sure.
some of them have, but not all of them.
That's correct.
So that's what, I was just wondering when that was gonna happen.
Yeah, he usually, as part of the budget, as we move closer to the spring, he'll put together a listing of all the roadways that are gonna be.
And Chuck worked hard to instill that 250 a year going towards, to start a roads, dedicated roads fund. And it's, that and on top of the chapter 90 money we get, it's really gone a long way.
Taking a big bite out of them, and we're getting an awful lot of compliments from area towns of people that ride bikes in town and say, we come to Newbury now to ride a bike. So,
Yeah, one thing about the roads, almost everybody uses them and they can
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Okay, so there's some of these that I can talk about later. There. Okay, so now we go into the town meeting warrant.
This is the updated one.
Okay. All right, so we can go through this now, we can pick up from here, and then if I see anything, I'll marry this to this, if I have any questions, as we go through the warrant.
Sure.
Damon, do you have something you want to add?
So that's a warrant item. I guess one of the questions I had was the admin and fin expenses on page 1. Look like they're dropping by,
My text is.
What page are you on?
page 1 in operating budget requests. There's a drop and I wasn't sure why that was there for admin and financial expenses. $15.94.
It's just we base it solely on what
What you
the
expended
actual
last year.
expenditures are. And we also review a 5-year analysis as well. So it was just a marginal
Marginal drop.
reduction.
And then on page 4, we also have police and administrative wages has a $2,000 drop, and again, I'm just curious what the production is from.
That's police and other administrative wages are the admin person who does the police details and the enforcement officers that they've used at Plum Island Center. Again, that's based on, that last year was the first year that we had that
Okay.
program going, so that's just based on the actual.
What was actually
expended.
expended?
Yep.
Okay. It looks like there's an inspector salary and wage increase on page 5, and you talked about possibly not doing that, and so I wasn't sure if that increase was going through or not. And so I was curious.
That's still under review.
Still under review.
Yep.
And I assume the reduction in parking clerk expenses is, again, the same sort of thing?
Based on actual expenses, yeah.
Yeah, no. And then the increase in expenses in counts on aging is just because they've increased the hours that they're working?
Of operations. Both the Council on Aging and the library have been requesting additional fundings for a number of years.
Yes.
Obviously, some of the public safety functions of government have been the departments that we've tried to reinstate because they were the hardest hit. But we're at the point now where, although I'm sure the chiefs would disagree with me, we've stabilized those departmental operations. We have 5-year plans, in particular for fire, where we're moving in a direction for full-time,
Yeah.
full overnight coverage and those things. But these departments, they're never gonna get priority over public safety, but at this point in time with those stabilizations, we thought it was appropriate to start providing a little additional hours.
Yeah, I think it's good to provide it, there's no rationale written in for
Yep.
what's going on, and so I thought I'd ask about it. We're expecting to, if we go into the next session, which is projections, we're expecting to bring the police station online in 2020, and I didn't see a jump in the facilities and maintenance line item, and so I was curious. I expect that building will cost at least $30,000 to $40,000 a year to run, and so I thought we should probably have that in our projections.
I can certainly add that, and there were a lot of questions relative to whether we'd still be here, whether we'd be going back there, what facilities would be
Yeah.
operational, would the town hall not be functional when that came on board. So we have had conversations with the building committee about the potential costs
Impact,
for
yeah.
impact, but it may be mitigated somewhat.
It may be.
Yeah,
I'm not
convinced. I can add that in.
And then one of the other projections that struck me as weird is the boat excise. On this one shows up flatlining at $13,000 a year, as does the penalties and interest and the licensing fee. And another spot, it's not flat, and so there seems to be a clerical error.
What
in there.
year? What year?
This is 2008 through 2023, it's 13,000 per boat excise the whole time across. So I think something got wrong in there.
I'll double
Because
check
other
it, we don't
places-
have a lot of significant change, defer to the harbor master as far as boat revenues. I tend to be somewhat conservative in my estimates, throughout the budget.
But in other places where there's another estimate where it increases just a little bit.
Boat,
Boat, we have, boat, penalties and interest, payment in lieu of taxes,
mhm.
and fines and forfeits, all straight line across for 5 years. And that seemed, I mean, maybe that is accurate.
It is somewhat accurate since we've implemented a fairly timely collection program relative to property taxes.
Mhm.
We are not realizing the increases in penalties and interest any longer. There can be some fluctuation, but probably not too significant.
And then the other question I'd had was about the public safety salary and wages as they negotiate. And this year they're getting a 6%, or they're getting a different
The budget
increase.
impact is 6%, but
6%.
their wages aren't increasing 6%. There's differentials and vacations and all sorts of uniform allowances and things like that that go into the contract.
So yeah, I was just confused, because I wasn't sure that it would actually stay at 2% as a general increase, given their ability to negotiate, so I just wanted to ask about that.
But
Because,
for projections,
yeah,
okay,
just because I was concerned that the projection might not be,
too low,
yeah.
okay.
I think that's my questions before we get to the warrant items. Oh no, there's one in the Moody's letter.
Yep.
The, page 3, it has the full value of property tax base increase from 2013 to 2017.
Mhm.
And in the diagram, it looks like property values were fluctuating 2013, 14, 15, and 16, and then there was a huge jump in 17. And I don't understand where that came from. And I know that's not your letter.
I thought the Moody's letter was 2005, no?
There is one 2005 and
Oh,
then
you're looking at the updated one,
the updated letter.
okay. Those
And
are their numbers, I can
Yeah,
certainly,
I was just confused by it, and I wasn't sure if you had looked at it and said, asked why that was going on.
I did not.
So with that-
2017?
Yeah, it just has a huge spike of,
I mean, and that could have something to do with the housing market recovering and
yeah, I mean,
blowing up.
I can pull it off of DOR's website and make sure the numbers are accurate,
Yeah.
and I can contact Moody's as well.
those are my questions from the budget book. So with those questions asked, Alicia, do you feel comfortable voting on Article 4?
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion on Article 4? All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $300,000 or any other sum to be added to the stabilization fund, or take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 5?
Any discussion?
I'd like to just explain, it's a little bit higher than it has been in previous years, where we did pass the override for Triton, but then weren't required to spend the full amount of the override in the assessment. I think we have to be very disciplined in not allocating that to other departmental functions. So by putting it in the stabilization fund next year or the year after when we need it for Triton's operational assessment, we're not gonna be making cuts to,
Other
you know, a
programs.
DPW budget or something like that. It's very easy to bring down the level of funding for the stabilization fund, but in this year, at least it goes towards our asset replacement program.
I think that's good.
Okay. Any other discussion on Article 5? All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 or any other sum to fund other post-employment benefits or take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 6.
Second.
Discussion?
How long are we gonna have to put in $100,000 a year before it's funded?
Quite a while, it looks like.
Our actuarial assessment, we have to update it every couple of years. It's over $7 million now.
Good night.
It's gonna be a while. We've only been putting, I think we initially started putting $25,000 a year. And it was more to bring it to everybody's attention. So when we go to town meeting every year, people are aware that there is an outstanding liability. They don't forget about it. When we have additional funds available, we try to increase it so we're from 25 to 50 to 100,000 annually, but it's gonna be quite a while.
What's the balance in that?
A little over 289,000, I think. It's required to be invested. It's invested in a trust fund through, managed by Bartholomew, a company called Bartholomew. I don't, barring some significant windfall of
Yeah.
unanticipated, something like that, I can't imagine we'd have it fully funded. And you have to understand too, we also are responsible for Triton's OPEB liabilities as well, and I think they're talking about it as
They
far
are
as funding it,
in the
so.
budget. How does it affect our bond rating?
No, you don't.
Negative.
Yeah.
It is considered an outstanding
It's
liability.
considered, I mean, I don't think it's, when Moody's and Standard & Poor's, when they're reviewing our financial plan, they're looking at policies, they're looking at numbers, they wanna see that we're adequately funding our reserves, that we've got, good financial policies in place, that our budgeting practices are solid, that our revenue estimates come in where they should, that we're not overspending, those kinds of things. They look at more, they weigh more highly than they do that, but that's a negative impact.
But that's not unique to Newbury, right?
No, I don't, I think there's only maybe two or three communities that have funded it.
And
In the state.
didn't I read somewhere that they were gonna look at changing how that is assessed?
They're always talking about that, like regional school assessments.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on Article 6? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $25,000 or any other sum from free cash for stormwater management purposes, or take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 7.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm still amazed that they're getting as much done with as little as they have, so I'm very
John
proud.
O'Connell has been very instrumental in moving us forward in the process.
Yeah. So I think we're very lucky that we're only spending that much money.
Sure. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Article 7?
Aye.
Aye. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $112,000 or any other sum from the receipts reserved cable television PEG access special revenue fund for the support of PEG access service and programming, or take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 8.
Second.
Discussion?
So is this is the number, the 112, that stayed that high because we're still on contracting with Attorney Epstein, right?
That includes all of the expenses, Epstein, all of the cable costs, the media, the programming, the equipment, everything. It's the same budget that it's been consistently.
Yeah, but I remember last year we upped it a little bit because of the negotiations with Comcast, and those still.
Should be done.
Right,
next
yeah, but
fiscal
there's
year.
still, yeah, so
Yeah.
it's, okay.
Yeah, that will take us through, those costs that we, the fees that we appropriated will take us through June 30th, and the contract should be renegotiated by May.
Yeah. And then, as far as Triton goes,
Yep.
getting them up and running,
Yep.
that's part of last year's appropriation, right?
That's part of, well, whenever it comes in, we met with them, I think you were traveling on March 6th, we had a meeting with them, a follow-up meeting with them as part of our negotiations, and came to an agreement and understanding everyone was aware of where they actually stand relative to what cable is where.
Right.
And I had a very productive conversation about what their needs were to broadcast live.
We had Comcast engineer in that actually laid out the cables. When they put the new stadium in, they had to move a few things around, but we had their engineer that, as he would say, built it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he was able to answer a lot of our technical questions.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what their needs are gonna be going forward, so it's been an ongoing process of.
right, so right now, what we're waiting for is, Superintendent Forget is working with Mr. Lathrop, to provide some quotes, I guess. Once they have all of that in hand as to what it's gonna cost, they'll be providing us a copy of it. Raleigh, Salisbury, and Newbury at that point would be prepared to pay their share of it, once we
Okay.
get the data.
so this number, this number here, that's, you're comfortable with that number?
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
Thank you.
yep.
Any other discussion on Article 8? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to authorize the total expenditures for the following revolving funds pursuant to General Law, Section 44, General Law, C-44, Section 53E1/2, for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019, to be expended in accordance with the bylaws heretofore approved. Recreation revolving fund, $50,000. And the municipal waterways improvement and maintenance fund, $54,310.
We'll take any other action.
Or take any other action in relation thereto. Thank you.
Motion to approve Article 9.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Is the 54, have we already paid for the pumps that are going out on Plum Island, or is that part of that payment?
Are you talking about the pump station?
Sewage
and
pumps?
overlay?
Yeah.
That would come from
Yeah,
veterans, correct?
That's not,
Okay.
that's not part of this,
I
that
didn't
came from the
think it was.
benefit fund. Yep, that's already been appropriated, I mean, that's already been expended.
Expended.
Yeah, we haven't gotten the invoice, but it's encumbered, I should say.
Encumbered,
We're waiting
set
for the
aside.
invoice, yeah.
Okay. I just,
So the municipal waterways improvement and maintenance fund, that's different than the betterment fund?
That's the harbor master account.
Okay.
This,
This is the harbor master?
Yeah.
Okay.
waterways improvement.
that's the waterways account.
Right, Betterment basically has
Water and sewer.
all
There's
things
water
to
and
do
sewer.
with
Yep.
Plum Island Sewer.
Yeah.
Right,
There we go. That's,
they all sound the same.
Threw me for a
That's
loop
why I
when you
was
mentioned it.
Yeah.
Any other discussion or questions on Article 9? All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds the following sums or any other sums to operate the ambulance enterprise. Salaries and wages, $94,814. Expenses, $82,360. Debt service, $22,083. Insurance, $4,000. Medicare, $1,351. AFG stretcher grant match, $9,000. Indirect costs, $56,597. Extraordinary and unforeseen, $6,320. And for a total of $276,525. And further, that $276,525 be raised as follows. Departmental receipts, $276,525. Or take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 10.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
So at this point, is the ambulance service generating revenue for the town?
It is, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, as a finance person, you're always skeptical as to whether or not you can do it as efficiently or at such a low cost as you can with farming it out, but, they have demonstrated in a very short time, three years, Doug?
Just 3 years.
Just 3 years, that it can be self-sufficient, and it can also generate revenue. So what you're seeing here in this presentation is not only the expenses of paying, the wages and the debt service and those types of things, the insurances, but you're also seeing a line for indirect costs. So the town is actually billing the ambulance enterprise funds for the costs that we incur, whether it's relative to benefits or what it costs for the town accountant to process all their bills and those types of things. So this is a fully self-supporting enterprise fund. And it's not on here now, but we were talking earlier this evening, and since we're not gonna vote it, sign it tonight, if the board will entertain it, Doug has provided me with all the documentation for the ambulance replacement. We didn't have it in time for tonight's meeting, but we've got it now. So they would appropriate from there, they have a free cash, just like we do, because they're a separate enterprise. They would like to entertain appropriation from their free cash to purchase a new ambulance. We can wait until the fall if we have to, but I think I don't wanna speak for you, but I think they prefer to do it in the spring if you allow them to put it on at this date.
So would that mean we should table Article 10?
No, it would be a separate article, it
Separate
would be
article.
Article 11, I'd insert it under there.
Before we close this one out, I just wanted to say I was a little skeptical of whether the ongoing, the ambulance enterprise could support itself, and I'm happy to say that my skepticism had no basis. It's a success.
Yeah.
I'm very happy
The
about that.
users are paying for the cost of running it.
Does the ambulance that they need, does that need to go through capital?
It will need to go through capital planning, so before it can be purchased, it will have to go through capital planning. But we get the appropriation and then meet with CPC. It wouldn't be able to go through until they're given the approval. It's happened this way in the past too. There is a precedent for doing it this way. Generally speaking, all capital requests are required to be presented to CPC by November 1st for the fiscal year. But there are occasions when things go out of sequence because, you know, you lose an axle on a dump truck or whatever. So they have reviewed them in the past.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that they
Yep.
get what they need.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other discussion on Article 10? All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 11, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $10,000 or any other sum from free cash to purchase and install a new town hall server or take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 11?
So,
Okay, discussion. Basically, in a nutshell, to dumb it down for myself, because I'm not a big tech guy, this is the central computer system for town hall that lets everything work together, and it's also key in our online records retention. It's something that needs to be updated on a
So who
semi-regular basis.
determined, like, what we needed? And
The
what-
IT director, Susan Noyes.
And how did she work with the company to identify this is gonna be adequate for what the town needs?
We'll have to go out to bid.
Okay.
We'll have to, just like we do anything else, yeah.
Yeah, but.
Oh,
when-
as far as specifications?
Yeah.
Yeah, she develops the specifications.
Okay.
I don't do that.
Do we need anything else besides the server to make this run?
Not that's been brought to my attention, no. This is a new server. The one we have, I think, is about 8.5, almost 9 years old. And what we're doing now, because of records retention requirements, laws, before we would have paper.
Right.
Obviously, we don't have facilities to house paper, and in this day and age, most people aren't doing that anymore. So instead, we scan everything,
Mhm.
and we're retaining it on the central computer system on the hard drive. So we need more capacity. But it's also, they don't recommend you keep them beyond 10 years anyway.
Right.
So,
But what about the cloud-based technology? That's where a lot of it's going now, and everything's on cloud.
I can't speak to,
I-
that's not my lingo, I'm finance.
I don't believe that the town wants to purchase that much storage space in the cloud or have it be that remotely controlled, because these are our documents for our town. It's one thing if you lose all your music and some of your pictures from your vacation, it's quite a different thing if you lose.
Building permits and
Oh, I know. I mean, I work for a large multinational corporation, and we deal with governments and GLP work and contracts, and everything that we do is up into the cloud.
I think it passes through the cloud. I'd be really surprised if it wasn't also in somebody's hard drive in a basement somewhere.
Well, we have a document retention policy, we're not supposed to do that. So,
Yeah, see, ours is the opposite, they require that we do that.
we retain.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
I just wanna make sure that.
I can, I
that
can see
if there is, you know,
Get a quote.
it's not that Newbury has to invent the wheel on this or reinvent the wheel. If there's other towns that are doing it differently, and that have luck with it, I'd rather, and if it's less money, I'd rather see that I mean, just because this is the way it's always been done doesn't necessarily mean that's the best way to do it.
This is the new way we're doing it, we haven't done it like this before, we've had paper before,
Yeah.
now we're gonna
We
go,
can't have paper anymore.
no.
We have no room.
We'll call around to a few of my peers and see if they
Yeah,
can
yeah.
do that kind of
See if
thing.
it, I mean, and it could be that everybody is doing like this, I don't really know. But I think it's worth to ask.
Any other discussion on Article 11? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $56,000 or any other sum from free cash to purchase and install replacement locks at the Newbury Elementary School, or take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 12?
Second.
Okay, discussion. I had the opportunity to speak to Fire Chief Jandron, and these locks, one of the functions is to protect classrooms against an active shooter. How do you fortify the classroom, but also make it so you don't need a key or special skills or physical strength to get out of the room when you need to? And I know some measures that have been looked at are like wedges you stick under the door and things like this. The problem with that is a child is not going to be able to remove that wedge. And basically these locks are a lot like the new cars, where you can lock the door, but to unlock the door, all you have to do is pull on that handle and it releases the door lock. And this would put into our classrooms that same feature. All a child has to do is walk up to that lever and pull it to be able to get out of the room in case the teacher can't do it, or who knows what.
So this is for locks, indoor doors, not external doors.
I know primarily classrooms. I don't know if they're also external doors or not. That's a good question.
No, it's classroom doors.
So,
And
yeah,
I should note too, the Triton administration has applied for a grant for this, so if they get the grant funding, we wouldn't need this appropriation. So this is only in the event that they're unsuccessful.
right. Any other discussion on Article 12? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $15,000 or any other sum from the stabilization fund to purchase a sander or take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 13?
Second.
Any discussion?
How long are sanders lasting at this point? Do we know?
I don't know about now, they're lasting longer because I know they've really ramped up maintenance at the highway department. And I know especially Bernie Fields Jr., rust prevention on our new equipment,
Yeah.
right off the bat, he's going after it to stop these problems before they even start. So I know the life for our newer equipment, I expect to be longer because they're taking precautions to ensure that. As far as how many years,
The older ones are regular run-of-the-mill steel, and they just wear out, they're welded and welded well. The newer ones are all stainless steel, makes a huge difference, they'll last a lot longer.
okay. Any other discussion on Article 13? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 14, actually I also should mention that the money for the sander would come out of the stabilization fund. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $47,235 or any other sum from the stabilization fund to purchase a crack sealer or take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 14?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
If this is gonna extend the life of our road, like I said, I think it's a great idea.
I was torn on it because it's almost 50 grand, but where we have so much invested in these new roads, do we want to get after these little cracks as they form? Probably.
For $50,000 short money, they're paving all the
On
roads.
top of that, we hire it out. What we pay for hiring it out, but
Right,
Yeah.
similar to tree work, you're caught in the same conundrum.
there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
So, any other discussion on Article 14? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. To see, Article 15, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $60,000 or any other sum from the stabilization fund to purchase and install a radio voter site on the Byfield water tank or take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 15?
Second.
Okay, discussion. This is
What is it?
basically the radio voter site is legalese for, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys. It's a signal booster, right, or a repeater?
Complicated for me too, but yeah, currently I'll keep it short as I can, but our radio system works through a repeater system,
Yeah,
which on the state police tower at the barracks. So when I talk on the radio, it goes from here to the repeater and it's bounced out because we gotta make it to the island or anywhere else, just from here. In Newbury, they use a Marshall water tank, they have a voter site, they call it, because sometimes it can't hit the repeater and stall on the road. So it'll hit the voter site and then hit the repeater and then bounce out. In Byfield, we don't have that. So we're having a tremendous amount of problems with portables on radios anywhere in Byfield, getting back to, and it really is with 2 or 3 on through the day, it's a life safety issue, because they can't get the message out that we're in trouble, or maydays and all that, never get to us. Even when 50 people on scene, our maydays aren't getting to us. If they put the mayday button, you're in trouble in the house, we wouldn't hear it, because it doesn't hit the repeater. So the site of the water tank, we just take it from the water tank to the repeater and out. And it's, the one on Marshall Hill works tremendously well.
So that should give you pretty good coverage.
It should be, I've had the TCS Communications did a study for us, graphed it all out, it looks like, according to the maps, it'll be perfect coverage. We have a tremendous problem in Triton and Gibbon, a huge problem now, and the map show it'll increase it, like 9%, so.
Good.
And I've been in contact with Byfield Water District, and they're okay with us putting the unit on the tank,
Yeah, that's
free of
my-
charge.
my next
No-
question.
No fees or nothing, no monthly fees or anything, so.
Okay? Thank you.
thank you.
Any other discussion on Article 15? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $105,000 or any other sum from the stabilization fund to construct a basketball court at the Central Street Recreation Area, or take any other action in relation thereto.
Second. Hold on.
Motion to approve Article 16?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I don't think we should be spending $100,000 when we don't have a town hall on recreation. So as much as I would like to see this go forward, I think there are other priorities and I'm gonna vote against it.
I guess I agree. My son's involved in basketball. It's an interest of both of us, but at the same time, does this seem like the right time for something that isn't a must-have? I'm not sure.
So this was something that I'm not sure if the town, this is supposed to come out of it's coming out of the state stabilization fund now, but did the rec committee have,
They don't have enough money in their account to
they don't have enough to cover it?
with the whole project. I know they've been, I don't know if it's been before your board, I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I know they've been meeting and discussing changes to fees and those types of things, but as of right now, they don't have enough to fully support it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because they have a plan that to get it to generate money, because there's nothing like it around here, so it's a good
For a
plan.
pickup game, I mean, when I was younger, we used to go to the old yellow school. There was a kind of a dilapidated court out front, but it was good enough, but that's gonna.
Yeah, no, this is more not a,
More organized.
yeah, it's a special, surface that, it's better on the knees, it's gonna attract leagues, it was gonna do all kinds of, just because it's not done now, doesn't mean that it's not gonna be done.
Yeah, I would love to see it done, I just don't think, with us not
I know.
having a town hall, this just seems too expensive to me right now, so.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, opposed?
Aye.
So, Article 17, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $42,002.55 or any other sum from the receipts reserved for appropriation account to the police station town hall project account, or take any other action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 17?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
What is it? What's this, is what I have written down.
That's a premium for bonds, as part of the stadium project. And when they get the premium, it has to be returned to the communities. and it can't be spent without further appropriation. So that's why it goes into the receipts reserved account. And I think it was Selectman Jesperson's recommendation that when we have those types of balances, that they be swept into the police station town hall project account in the event that we
Scroll away a little bit.
are able to move the projects forward and contingencies, those types of things.
Okay.
Any other discussion? So, all those in favor of Article 17? Aye. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to amend the code of the town of Newbury, Chapter 56, dogs and other animals, by adding a new Section 56-3, roosters, as follows. A, roosters shall be considered a nuisance animal and shall not be allowed in the town of Newbury except on premises which qualify as farms under MGL Chapter 128, Section 1A, and Chapter 40A, Section 3. B, enforcement. The Section 56-3 shall be enforced by the building commissioner or health agent. Any person committing a violation under this section may be subject to a fine or issued to a citation under the non-criminal disposition process of MGL Section 40, Section 21D. C, fines. Whoever violates this bylaw shall be punished by a fine not exceeding $50 for each offense. Each rooster in each day shall constitute a separate offense, or take any action in relation thereto. This has been brought forward by the building inspector, and I am going to abstain from this decision.
Well, I move,
I wondered on that.
I move, just for the sake of discussion, I move to pass place Article 18 on the warrant.
Second.
So I need a logic behind this. Do we have one?
I don't like it at all. I don't know if Sam was recently attacked by a rooster, but I think we're still a very rural community. I think people growing and raising their own small flocks of chickens is a good thing, and so I object to this one.
Articles against fighting roosters, but a regular run-of-the-mill rooster, I mean, they're the best thing for ticks, getting rid of ticks there is. So,
Well, I was gonna tell us, listen on the logic behind it. Thank you, Mom.
Well, this was, as Jared said, this was Sam's request, and the reason he wanted to put on the warrant for town meeting is because he's received a lot of complaints from people. And these aren't roosters that are on farms, these are roosters that are in small neighborhoods, they're being kept as pets, they're crowing all day long, constantly. And it's been an ongoing issue, more than one instance, and so it was his suggestion, and it's something that's come up in a lot of communities. Several years ago, there was a whole thing on sort of urban chickens, and roosters have gotten to be an issue as part of that. So it was his recommendation as a way, because right now there's no way to deal with roosters that are really being kept in situations that are not farm situations, but you know, more as pets or kind of hobbyists, and they're causing a lot of issues. So that's my best trying to speak for him.
Is there another way we can handle this without banning roosters? Is there a sound ordinance of,
Look at parking club.
Yeah,
Calls,
I mean-
you're supposed to put a collar on a rooster.
I've never seen it. I bet they exist somewhere though.
They do, they actually do exist, there is something.
Rooster collars. Then, yeah, I mean, I think if you live in a rural community, you have to deal with rural noises, whether it's the occasional barking dog or the angry rooster next door. There are worse noises, so I'm against it.
I'm concerned that the town is gonna lose its charm as a rural community if we start banning farm animals. I'm not a big fan of it. But I do think that something needs to be addressed, because if I lived next door to something that was making noise and waking me up every morning at 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, I don't think I'd be happy either.
And it's not just that, it's constant. There are situations where they're just crowing all day long.
So how can we address this differently?
Well, I think we could do, I mean, we could create a different bylaw much like exists for nuisance animals of other varieties, you know. If a dog is barking all the time, you control the animal control officer and there's mitigation and then,
They bring it in front of us,
yeah,
we deal with it.
yeah.
So I'm in favor of handling this situation that same way.
Yeah, I don't think this
Nuisance animal or
bylaw is
not.
necessary.
Alright.
Do you want the article to appear on the warrant with your negative vote, or do you want this removed from the warrant until an alternative proposal is brought forward?
I always have a problem with that, you know, because we remove it now, we can't get the public's input. And town meetings, spring town meetings, the greatest thing for public input there is, so. Even though I'm kind of against this article, I think I would vote for it just to get the people's input on the town floor. You know, because if we deny them the right to vote on it, you know,
Well, where it came from Sam and not from a resident-driven issue, I understand what you're saying, I guess, yeah, I mean, I guess we can, I'm okay with putting it on the warrant and with my vote as a no on it.
okay.
I'm still thinking about this.
Yeah, I can see that, that's why I didn't call for the vote just yet. Part of me wonders if I should be abstaining from the conversation as I am a farmer with chickens and roosters, but it's not about me, so I feel like I can discuss it.
Well, I guess we can bring it to town meeting and vote and put, I don't know, I'm torn, because I feel as if we can handle the issue of the screaming chickens another way. And just because we don't put it on the warrant for this year, doesn't mean we can't put it on the warrant in the fall or next year. I mean, I think that we should look into, getting some type of an ordinance with those, like those no bar collars that we start talking about. I'm in favor of that.
So you're in favor of no action on this?
Yeah, I'm not really in favor of bringing this to the town meeting floor. It goes against my, I could be wrong, but that's what I feel.
Good point.
If
Alrighty.
you say no now, doesn't mean you're gonna say no forever.
Yeah.
You wanna have public input right now?
Want to?
Sure. Come on up.
I agree with Dan, Craig Lowe from Watcher Street. Byfield's a rural community. I don't think roosters is a big deal. They're in my neighborhood. They don't bother me. I think if you put that on the town warrant, it's gonna create a lot of discussion. It's gonna prolong the town meeting itself over a very small matter. So I don't, roosters aren't a big deal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So
Any further
put it
discussion?
on for, fall meeting revised.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not in favor of putting it off. I'm in favor of addressing, so it raises a concern. I'm in favor of addressing the issue now like we do with nuisance dogs. And that's just a 6 months to see if we can address the issue. If it doesn't work in 6 months and people still complain, then we gotta do something else. At least we tried something else.
If I may speak, I think the reason Sam wanted to put it on is there actually is nothing that allows him to address it right now. We've got an
Right.
article on, in the bylaws on dogs, but there's really nothing that allows him to really take any action on this, so.
So how do we get the, I don't know, Mike, maybe this is a question for you. How do we get you to an ordinance so that you can ask a resident to put a no bark collar on a rooster?
Well, I think we could direct the animal control officer to respond to obnoxious roosters. I think that's
Is that
within our
possible,
ability to
Mike?
charge. But, yeah.
I mean, I think if there's an animal making that kind of a noise, then it's a nuisance, period. I don't care if it's a rooster, if it's a chicken, or a dog. Then I think that, you know, do we have a nuisance ordinance? Do we have a noise?
No,
No, there's,
We don't
No
even have a
noise.
noise ordinance.
no, that was something we talked about years ago, but we did not complete.
I'm really in favor of finding another way to handle this before we bring it to the town meeting for precedent.
If the board pleases, for fall town meeting, I can draft an ordinance to go before Lisa and Tracy beforehand. That would include obnoxious animals in
There
the
you
same
go.
way that we handle nuisance dogs, something like that, and bring it for the fall, if that makes it easier.
I like that idea.
I think you could do all nuisance animals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
instead of just dogs, all nuisance animals, and then the animal control officer can investigate if she finds that the animal's a nuisance, then we can follow the same procedure we follow with dogs, bring it before the board, and then the board can make a decision as to what to do with it, whether rotisserie it or put a collar on it. Or you guys are talking about chickens and I'm getting hungry, I'm sorry.
A little goldfish in there too.
All right. All those in favor
Of what? What are we in favor of?
of removing Article 18?
Me.
Removing it?
Okay. Come on back.
Article 19, to see if the town will vote to amend the code of the town of Newbury, chapter 60, earth removal, section 60-1D, regulations governing removal of sand, gravel, quarry, or other earth materials as follows, with new language indicated by underlined italics. Removal of soil, loam, sand, gravel, quarry, or other earth material. Regulations governing removal of sand, gravel, quarry, or other earth materials for the removal of sand, gravel, quarry, and other earth materials, including the processing and treating of raw materials, other than that which is incidental to and in connection with the construction of a building on a parcel, up to a maximum of 20,000 cubic yards. The following regulations shall govern or take any action in relation thereto. Do we have
The
a
motion to approve Article 19?
I'll second it for the sake of discussion.
Okay,
I'm confused.
discussion. My first question on this one is, does this affect our construction companies in town or prohibit them from being able to stockpile materials? Was a question of mine, and my understanding of that is no. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So this would be basically, I shouldn't say virgin material, but material that's removed to construct.
Right, basically, this was another suggestion from the building inspector, and it was to address issues where, right now, there's nothing controlling earth that's being removed from a site where it's being excavated for a foundation, for example. So this was just to set a trigger for something that's being removed greater than 20,000 cubic yards. Sorry, excuse me. You know, on a site where a house is being built or something like that, there's no control over that right now, so. So it has
Did you say
nothing
greater
against
than
that.
20,000?
Greater than
Yeah.
20,000.
This says up to a maximum of 20,000.
Right, so right now, up to a maximum is excluded,
Okay,
So,
so it'd be anything that's more than that.
yeah, so a normal 10-wheeler dump truck is about 14 cubic yards. So 20,000 cubic yards is a pretty substantial volume.
mhm,
And essentially, I think what it seeks to do is stop people from excavating a site that they're building on, because they don't want stuff coming off. Essentially, you're supposed to, when you're building, you're supposed to keep most of your materials on site. So this is just putting a limit on how much you can take away.
okay.
Like theoretically, you could sell 40,000 yards of sand and put a shed up.
Yes. And that's, I think what this is seeking to stop, I reached out to Sam to try and talk about it, because I forgot when I was in here earlier today, and he was not able to get back to me in time, to see what, you know, if this has been going on a lot, where people are taking a lot of material off-site, but if he thinks it's necessary, this is one of the ones where I would go along with what he's saying. It doesn't seem onerous in any way to me.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 20, to see if the town will vote to amend the code of the town of Newbury, chapter 82, peace and good order, by adding a new section 82-6, construction work hours, and renumbering the subsequent section as follows. 82-6, construction work hours. Noise associated with a valid building permit is permitted between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. on weekdays and Saturdays, between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Sundays, and is prohibited on major federal holidays of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Day, with the exception of an emergency as defined in 780 CMR in the state building code. Violations and penalties.
So it's renumbered 82.
Yeah, renumbered, or take any action in relation thereto.
Motion to approve Article 20.
Second.
Discussion?
So do we already have this, these are the construction work hours that are already,
I believe so.
No.
No, we have no construction work hours.
oh, yes, we did, I thought.
We condition
We condition
individuals'
a special permit.
plans. So there's nothing currently on the
Well,
books.
I can remember a long, long time ago, in a land far, far away, over in Byfield, when we were building our house. My husband was up here on a Sunday morning, and was trying to get the roof buttoned up. And the police showed up because it wasn't supposed to, it must have been before 9 o'clock. So,
On the other hand,
I
you were
think
also
it was
told back
something-
then that you had to hook up to municipal water, weren't you?
well, I did, I don't know if I was told I had to, but I did. So I didn't realize that this wasn't,
Yeah.
Under the disturbing
That's a
peace
common.
law, 270, 253, the courts have found that before 7 a.m. on a weekend is deemed unreasonable. And I think it's before 8 or 9 a.m. on a Sunday
yeah.
is deemed unreasonable. So if you get noise complaints then the police will go out and ask to refrain until after whatever hour it is. I think it's 9 a.m. on weekends and 7 a.m. on a weekday or 6 a.m. on a weekday, something like that. So that might be what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was on
exactly.
Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I mean, 13 hours a day seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a little concerned about special permits, because what if can we condition the special permit differently?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, it supersedes usually.
Yeah, I mean, again, as Tracy said, we've been putting conditions on special permits and site plan review to try to control construction hours for specific things, but again, there's nothing in our bylaw that specifically refers to that, and this again, it was Sam's request because of complaints that he's received, and he hasn't had the teeth to enforce it. So this was his suggestion in his language. But that doesn't mean that we couldn't be more stringent with a special permit or site plan review approval if it was appropriate for that situation.
Yeah.
I object to the federal holidays, because I feel like some homeowners only have their vacation days to do work on their houses. And if they're actually being good citizens and pulling their permits, those may be some of the times that they can actually work on their projects. And so I object to that part of it. I think a general guideline is good, but I don't see the need for the holidays in there.
And those were the times that Sam has said he's gotten the most complaints, so that was
Naturally,
his
because
suggestion,
of people having the time off to work on their houses.
especially Thanksgiving Day.
I thought everyone watched football except for me.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No, I'm not opposed, I'm for it again.
I'm just gonna abstain. I don't feel good
And,
about it.
and
We'll see it, we'll see what happens at town meeting floor.
could you just, point of order, I didn't hear how you voted.
I voted to put it on the
And
line.
what about Mr. Bear?
I voted for it.
You voted for it, okay, thanks.
let the people, talk about it.
Okay, zoning bylaws, Article 21. See if the town will vote to amend the code of the town of Newbury, Chapter 97, zoning, Article 5, special permit, Section 97-5H, marijuana establishments, subsection 97-5H, location, and Article 3, regulations of use districts, Section 97-3M, table of use regulations, as follows, with the deleted language indicated by a strike through and new and revised language indicated by underlined italics. Marijuana establishments. It would probably be more useful if you could give us the rundown.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot to read here.
17
Well,
days.
between that and the strikeouts, I just don't know how I could make sense to people at home.
So basically, what's being proposed is to replace all of the language in the location section in our current marijuana establishments bylaw, which was adopted a year ago at the spring 2018 annual town meeting, and replace it with new language. And the reason the board started looking at this is when we finally, we sort of rushed to get the bylaw in place last year, and it was done, it was drafted before the CCC regulations were finalized. And once we finally had a chance to step back and start looking at some of the buffer zones that had been established, which were based on the previous medical marijuana buffer zones, it became clear that it was really too restrictive, that we were, close to being in danger of zoning it out, which is not the intention. So the board is making three recommendations here. One is, well, I'll step back. The CCC regulations from the state require a 500-foot buffer zone between certain protected uses, kindergartens, pre-existing kindergartens and grades 1 through 12, and a marijuana establishment from property line to property line. What we had in our bylaw was 1,000 feet, and so the board is recommending to cut it back to 500 for the CCC regulations. We also had some language about daycare centers, which they have recommended leaving in, and some language about other places where minors commonly congregate, and they've recommended taking that out. So it's a reduction in the buffer zone between schools and marijuana establishments. The thing that was actually more difficult was the buffer zone between the residences and marijuana establishments, because we have so much residential, including in the area where the establishments, all establishments were allowed in the business and light industrial. We have residences embedded within that and surrounding all of it. We had a 300-foot buffer zone from marijuana establishments to residences, again, property line to property line, and that knocked out a lot of possible locations in the business and light industrial, and knocked out almost everything in the commercial highway, which is where we also allowed it. So the recommendation here is to cut the buffer zone down to 150 feet, but it would be from structure to structure, not property line to property line, between residences and marijuana establishments. The other change is to allow retail not only in the business and light industrial district along Route 1, which is where it was allowed in the original version, but also in the commercial highway, and in this district, the commercial highway A. And marijuana establishments, the board also is recommending that all marijuana establishments be allowed in this residential, in this commercial highway A district. So those are the highlights of the changes. So it's replacing that whole location section and then making the associated changes to the table of use regulations. And we did hold a public hearing on that on March 20th.
This went through all that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, we should make a motion.
Motion to approve Article 21.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I still think the daycare can be struck from this, but I will move that on.
Yeah, this is, I think we should just put this on the town meeting floor, the way it is, and discuss it there. I mean, a lot of work went into moving this around.
Should be.
Yeah.
I know a lot of work went into it, but I'm also sensitive about commercial activities in residential areas, and the stigmas certain things can cast on other businesses, I'm opposed to this. I think we should stick with our setbacks. I don't like the idea of it 150 feet from a daycare.
No, it's 500 from a daycare, it'd be 150 feet from a residence.
Okay, I don't like it 150 feet from a residence.
No.
What does the,
I'm not opposed to the industry, but
what does the CCC recommend?
The only recommendation from them is the 500 feet from pre-existing kindergartens in grades 1 through 12. They're silent on residential uses.
So where did you come up and how did you pull the 150 feet from residence to residence? Structure to structure, I should say.
As I said, the original bylaw was 300 feet, property line to property line, and the board felt that there should be some buffer, and just kind of looking at location of some of the residences in relation to some potential locations where marijuana establishments might go in. That seemed like a reasonable number, 150.
any other discussion? Need a minute?
Just to add, as it is right now, we could be subject to challenge. So we're trying to, craft something which will avoid that. We also did put in some language about potentially reduction of some buffers under certain circumstances. If there's a, physical barrier like a state highway or a perennial stream or significant wetlands or something like that.
So what I'm hearing, if I understand you correctly, is the way the bylaw is currently passed, it could be seen as prohibitive for this industry and right for a court challenge that's saying that the town effectively zoned it out of its bounds.
Right, there was certainly not the intention to do that, but there are very few locations that actually, once you start looking at all of the residences in particular, it makes it very difficult.
Got it. Okay.
So the planning board's answer is to amend the current bylaw
Correct.
and make all these changes to 150 feet.
For the residences and 500 for daycare and schools.
And the CCC doesn't say anything about daycares.
Of course not. They don't say anything about anything, they just stay silent.
Well, they say
But the town's
schools
right away.
and kindergartens, so they just don't say anything about daycares.
Well, I'm not in favor of putting it next to a daycare.
I've never seen any daycare kids smoking pot, so.
Yeah, they'll smell it.
I guess I'm more concerned about the stigma that could be attached to a school or a home that ends up very close by one of these facilities and impacts on property values.
I don't think there's a stigma being near the mini mart, which sells beer. I think since we've legalized this to continue to stigmatize it, I think it's really counterintuitive. We want the revenue that this could generate for the town, so I think it's imperative to make it so that it could actually exist in our town somewhere. So, and to say, you can have beer sold next to your house, but you can't have pot anywhere near a residence or a small child is bizarre. And I don't even smoke this stuff, so. That's fine, it can sound that way, people assume I do, but,
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Article 22, to see if the town will vote to amend the code of the town of Newbury, Chapter 97 zoning, Article 4. Regulations of overlay district, section 97-4C, wireless communication services overlay district as follows. With deleted language indicated by Strike through and new revised and relocated language indicated by underlined italics. Would you like to give us a rundown, Martha?
So this is intended to address some changes that were made in federal law back in 2012. It doesn't address 5G or any of the kind of upcoming things. It's really kind of looking a little retroactively, but there are a few changes in, first of all, in setbacks. We originally had a setback of 900 feet from dwellings, schools, daycare centers, nursing homes, assisted independent living facility, and the board is recommending that that be reduced to 300 feet. Just as a little background, this bylaw that we have on our books right now was written back in 2000, 2001. So there have been a lot of changes in technology since then. There are a few Scrivener's errors that we're trying to correct. We're also looking at reducing the notification for owners of properties within 300 feet instead of 900 feet. Shall be notified if there's an application for a special permit for a wireless facility. That application goes to the zoning board of appeals. The biggest change really is for modifications to existing facilities. Right now, somebody who wants to make any kind of a change to an existing facility, change out an antenna or something like that, is supposed to go through the whole special permit process again. Under the law, you can't deny those, and the recommendation here is to make it so that SAM actually, the application, as long as it's not changing the dimensions, either width or height of the facility, if it's just changing out an antenna or something else similar to that, that it would go before SAM, and he could approve it administratively as long as he finds that it doesn't substantially change the physical dimension of an eligible facility. So that's the major change that's being proposed here, that and the setbacks.
So what's the,
The motion to approve Article 22.
second?
Okay, discussion?
So what's currently, the way the bylaw is written now, it has to have a 900-foot setback.
Right, from dwellings and schools and nursing homes.
So we want to change it to 300.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does that do? What's the benefit?
It's another, and I'll backtrack again. The only place we allow these is in the business and light industrial along Route 1. So, again, because of the residences there, and I will say that we don't have people knocking down the door to try to get these things up there, but we certainly do have issues with coverage in town. But with the number of residences there, again, it really restricts the locations that the towers could go in.
And are we currently in violation of FCC?
It was an obscure act, and I'm sorry, I keep forgetting what it is. It was the Middle Class Tax Act in 2012, and there was something in there that was related to wireless facilities, and it's trying to address that.
What does that mean?
Yes.
So, and that really has to do with modification of eligible facilities.
So we're currently in violation of FCC regulations?
We haven't updated to catch up with those.
We haven't.
Have not.
Okay, and that's what this attempts to do. So when we say, I know the technology has changed a lot. When we say that the antenna for use is a wireless mounted facility, but in my mind, because I'm probably old, I envision this big, huge, gigantic monster of a thing going up, but I don't think necessarily that's how they make them anymore. I think, like Doug, your repeater thing that you just asked for, isn't that like about this big?
Yeah, it was a whole different, and we already have the water tower put in, that's the difference. That's already there.
So I know sometimes when you drive up to the mountains and stuff up in Vermont, you'll see.
You'll see one that sort of looks like a
tree,
tree.
but it's not really. Can we do that to make it look like a tree?
So currently there's a special permit process, so in the special permit process, they could request that if it was appropriate, but those things would look ridiculous.
Would it be,
Better than a bear.
would they be able to condition in a special, would it trigger a special permit, or is it as of right in our business and light industrial districts
It's a
now?
special permit process through the zoning board of appeals.
And it would continue to be?
Yes, yeah, so there's no change to the basic thing, this is really addressing modifications. You know, it seems at this point to have somebody go through that whole special permit process to change an antenna
Yeah.
is a difficult thing to.
I'll just tell you what
ask
makes
somebody
my
to-
hair stand up on the back of my spine is this, moving it from 900 to 300 feet. I'm afraid of an unintended consequence somewhere. And it puts a knot in my stomach. I don't want somebody's home to all of a sudden be subject to this.
To having cell phone
Monstrosity.
service.
Well, no, that's the flip side of it is, I know when you're out in the island, it's hard to get cell phone service.
Some
So,
parts around Old Town Hill.
yeah, so
Yes.
I'm kinda like, I see it two ways. But it's the unintended consequence, just, no good deed goes unpunished. So here we go,
And then-
trying to do something good and
And then we wrestle with the flip side where it could be a legitimate safety concern if people's cell phones.
it is a legitimate safety concern if people's cell phones are marked. I mean, that's why those two women were here on Plum Island
Because
with
they
that
can't get
special
cell
phone,
service
because
out
they
there.
can't get cell service if they need an emergency. So it's,
Yeah, I mean, I hope that as we move forward, repeaters like the voter that we're just buying are much more common and all over the place, so that towers become obsolete. To a lot, yeah, I think we need cell phone coverage. It's how a lot of people conduct business now, so.
yeah, I don't have a home phone.
Do you think the special permit process would allow for the shaping of the appearance of one versus like a very industrial looking tower? You know, say a very industrial looking tower versus one that maybe tries to look like a tree? Or is that out of bounds?
To be honest, I haven't reviewed that part of the bylaw in some time in terms of, I mean, there are specifications about what it can be. I think it's a monopole and not a,
An Eiffel Tower?
not an Eiffel Tower kind of a thing. There are height limitations. So, and I think the special permit could be conditioned like other special permits based on the site. And there's no proposal to change any of that right now. There'll probably be a wholesale change sometime soon with the 5G technology coming in, but we're not there yet.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Article 24, I'm not skipping one, right?
23.
Right. 22.
No, in the book, the numbers changed from the. Yep.
Gotcha. To see if the town will vote to amend the code of the town of Newbury, chapter 97, zoning, article 3, regulations of use districts, section 97-3C, agricultural residential district, subsection 1A, uses by special permit as follows. Deleted language indicated by strike through and new language indicated by underlined italics. Probably best if you give us the rundown again, so we can put this in understandable English.
So this really is just a housekeeping item, and it comes kind of out of the changes that the planning board made back in 2010, 2011, when they created a table of use regulations, which we hadn't had before. And some language was retained in the different district descriptions about who had the authority to do what. In the residential agricultural district, it mentions the language, the written language mentions only the selectmen as being the special permit granting authority in that district. But the table of use regulations identifies a number of uses in the residential agricultural district that are, in which the planning board and the zoning board of appeals are the special permit granting authority. So the purpose of this article is just to pull those two bodies into the language, written language, to identify them as special permit granting authorities. And to essentially say that the same criteria that the selectmen have been given for granting a special permit apply to special permits from those boards as well.
Okay. Yeah, and I know I mentioned to you this morning when we spoke, I received a couple calls from residents concerned that this would remove one board or another from the special permit decision, but in all actuality, it makes it more inclusive and does some housekeeping at the same time.
Right, it makes it consistent with the table of use regulations. I've also had some questions, there was some confusion, I think some people felt that the board was actually proposing to change the boundaries or regulations for the residential agricultural district, and that's not the case.
Can we move this or not? Motion to approve Article 23.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to amend the code of the town of Newbury, chapter 97, zoning, Article 10, general regulations, section 97-10F, temporary trailers and mobile homes as follows. Deleted language indicated by a strike through and inserted language indicated by underlined italics. Why don't we have a motion first, and then we'll get into
Motion to approve Article 24.
Second.
discussion. You're gonna be worn out.
So this is another article that was requested by the building commissioner, and the reason for that is he's had a number of situations where there's an existing house on a lot that's been bought by, say, a contractor who is going to build a new house on it. And there's nothing right now, and he's had requests from that contractor to be allowed to use the existing house, which no one is living in at the time, as a construction trailer, instead of actually bringing in a separate trailer and a porta potty and all of that. There's nothing in the zoning that allows him to do that right now. So his suggestion was to include existing dwellings which will be demolished when the new dwelling is done and receives an occupancy permit, to allow that to be used as a construction trailer, site trailer, until construction is complete. So that's the purpose of this article, just to give him the authority to allow that.
Right.
I'm a little confused on that.
So say they were gonna rip a house.
No, I understand that. My thing is on allowing it. If a law prohibits it, fine. If you're gonna have a law to allow it, I don't, confused on that. Like, there's no law that says you can have a driveway, but everybody's got one. It does, do we have to have a law that says you're allowed to have a driveway? I don't get it.
So the reason for it is because on some lots you can't fit two structures. And so you could, if you had one that you were gonna get tear down, you couldn't start the second one until the first one was gone, because you can't have the two buildings existing at the same time. This would allow the second building to be started while the first building was still there.
Light dawns on my head. Thank you.
As long as it's not residing.
Yeah.
Right, if it's if it's actually being lived in, it can, it
It's
can
gonna be
need to
torn down
continue to
later.
be
Yeah, okay.
used until.
I get it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry. Did you have a comment?
I had a question.
Sorry, I missed you.
On Matthews Main Street, it's, the wording is calling the building that's gonna be used as a shed, they're calling it a dwelling. And a dwelling is a place where you live. So what they're saying is this law is gonna let somebody live in a house while they're building another
It says
on the same property,
in existing dwellings to be demolished.
after they get an occupancy permit for the new building.
Right. The existing dwelling that is to be demolished. So what's your question?
It can
The
basically.
wording, the dwelling is, by dictionary,
Right.
is
Is a
a
residence.
place to live, so that
It
it
shouldn't
should,
be that.
yeah, it shouldn't.
It should be a construction, it shouldn't be a dwelling.
It shouldn't be called a dwelling.
But it is a dwelling.
It is a dwelling, it was constructed as a dwelling, it's been used as a dwelling, that use has been abandoned, but it's still there as is a former dwelling, and it will be demolished as soon as there's an occupancy permit for the new dwelling.
And it says a trailer or existing dwelling not otherwise being used as a residence, so it can't be lived in. It's
gonna be vacant.
being a trailer.
All I'm saying is, a dwelling is a place to live, so the wording is wrong.
Well, I understood, we rely on town council for the wording of these, that's why I like the radio repeater, they call it a voter site, which makes absolutely no sense to me. But we have to rely on town
So
council.
we'll ask them if
But
that's the appropriate
understood,
word.
it's confusing.
Yeah.
Can we ask them if that's the appropriate word?
Yeah, I think these are, Lisa,
Yeah,
is already,
she's reviewed all of it.
yeah, so
She
they,
already has.
Yeah.
it's been reviewed by town council, and they, to some degree, they tell us the wording we need to use to make everything legal at the end of the day, although at times it can be confusing. But definitely something that'll need to be clarified at town meeting, I'm sure. So, thanks, Tony.
That's it.
Yeah, any other town administrators report?
No, no, tonight.
Any old business? Citizens' concerns? Come on up, Mike.
Good evening, Mike Doyle, Revolving Ave, Newbury. Before I start, I'd like to say, Newbury had something really good happen this week. Brian Forger got named Superintendent of the Year by the Massachusetts PTA. So I thought it would be nice if the board sent him a letter, and that's what I'm nice with. I just got two small things. Last week I talked about, when Keith Apple was here talking about greening our money, there was a $54,000.
Sylvia B. Lund
Yes.
Fund,
Okay,
Upper Green.
just know what it is, and if it's been used, what was it used on,
It hasn't been used.
okay?
The balance, and Tracy, correct me, because I want some amount of interest might have accrued. Sylvia B. Lunt, Upper Green Fund, designated for Upper Green improvements, $54,879.72.
Mr. Chairman, the only request I have of the board, why are we sitting on it? It's like, there's things to be done down there.
It's been around since 2012.
5 years, 5 years or 6 years?
Right.
It's like, they said they needed a flagpole. I just said, like, maybe we could have used it. Just, why aren't we using it between once? You wanted something done with the green with it, green update.
I think, some of us weren't aware of it because it came in before our time. And B, there's been a lot of other things that are higher priorities. The fact that we realize that it's there now and that Green ER has brought all these things forward, we will be
Okay.
using it.
The only reason I say, it's like, if,
And it's not so easy to just use it. One thing that's been shown through like the Green ER hearings and discussions about the green, and also right down to dead trees that need to come down around the green that the tree warden has a hearing on. You so much as go to cut a branch off a tree on the green, and it causes acrimony. And I think in the past, that's made probably town leaders hesitant to open that can of worms.
like, the way I was just saying, when I talked to Donnie Jarvis, he said, I guess the flagpole has been an issue. It's like, we
I have
couldn't-
not heard one peep out of Don
Okay,
Jarvis about the flagpole.
Okay, we'll go on. At the last meeting, we talked about Comcast money. Specifically, one thing I brought up was, there was the contract you guys are gonna be signing real soon. I heard May 9th, there's possibly the date of signing. The new contract, Comcast.
We don't have an execution date
Okay.
established, but the old contract will be expired.
Okay, so one of the things I brought up was a senior citizen discount. And Selectman Beer said that you can't fight Comcast. Okay, but I said, what I say is, you said something, you said Comcast is a giant, basically, we only can fight so far.
So,
So what I'm going to, you people hired, an attorney, who did the Salisbury contract last year. He told the town not to sign it. They signed a 6-month contract. And in that 6 months, they got a 10% discount across the board and a $200,000 grant. So you can fight Comcast and win.
so we're currently negotiating with Comcast, and I think I told you this the last meeting we had. There's gonna be, a discount coming for
Okay,
the
but you said last week it was for people that were
qualified.
qualified, so
Financially
this
qualified.
one was not qualified, 10% across the board.
I'll follow up with
Okay,
Ms. Harrington
okay.
on that, but that's not my understanding.
Okay, the last thing about the media money, okay? What are we gonna do, the $700,000, give or take, I'm not sure, what's the final figure, what's in that account now?
I don't have that with me.
Okay, I heard it's up in that ballpark.
It's, the
Yeah.
last time we accounted for it, there was 660,631
Okay.
but I don't know
All
where
right,
the
okay.
additional funding's coming.
Still, it's a lot of money. You're specifically guided by state regulation and federal regulation, what you can do with that. So, we hired a media consultant, to basically overlook the whole town. That report was given to the town on June 15th, 2018. The account, it was called the Technical Video Consulting Report. Did you, anyone in the committee, on board see that?
Oh, yeah,
Okay?
we've all read it.
Okay, so all I'm asking a couple things. Why didn't we agree with some of the recommendations? Such as, they said the town hall wasn't the best place, a new town hall, that you know what I'm gonna do? It's not the best place because of the fact that size limitation. Where we have a building out at Triton, it's in the report here. I can read it if you like. Well, let me just finish my point. They said two things. We had a building that they recommended Triton for a number of reasons. The second thing was they recommended a new IT person because they said times are changing. And we need a person that's been trained in this. So what happened when the media committee called on this, they were all dismissed. I'm just wondering why, and why we didn't listen to we hired somebody, I'm not sure what the cost of this was, but we hired somebody to do a job. They came back with a thing and basically it wasn't accepted.
So, can I?
Yeah,
Please.
go ahead.
The town had a media committee that, the committee members, 2 members were reappointed, 2 members does not a committee make.
Okay.
So,
Why were the others not
Town.
appointed?
one moved out of town, they weren't not reappointed, they refused to serve.
John refused to serve?
No, not him, he was appointed, he was reappointed, he chose not to accept the appointment.
Okay, so
And
that's not why.
same with Robin Williams.
Okay.
But 2 people do not make a committee. I am very concerned over public access. I am a strong believer in public access programming. I think it puts a watchful eye on the government, and I think that each city or town needs to have its own private public access. Unfortunately, when we asked for people to sit in the media committee, nobody stepped forward. So unfortunately, since we do not have a resident filled committee, it falls to the town to make sure that happens. Is that the best model? I don't believe so, but I can't do it alone.
Okay.
So, this report, it is my hope that this Board of Selectmen take that report and move forward with it, because it is a path forward. I think we've taken steps to put some items in that report. I believe there's a rec out for a position to replace Kayla.
Yes.
She's hired.
She's hired.
She's in the.
Okay.
Okay, so we've already
Who do
got
you have?
that person there. There are,
Sarah or something.
yeah.
Sarah Brocher.
Thank you.
There we go.
So, we're getting there.
Okay,
It's just
okay.
as easier to move molasses.
So, what is the board's plan for all this money?
We had a studio designed into the combo building that got shot down
Okay,
at town meeting.
so,
It got shot down by the voters.
okay,
So right now, it's unfortunate, I was disappointed because we had a studio space planned. The timing was gonna come along to coincide with other construction. For security reasons, we can't incorporate it into the standalone police station.
okay.
And there are also some complications with Triton, because it's not just Newbury involved with Triton, it's also Salisbury and Rowley. So the town of Newbury solely building something at Triton for 3 towns' use.
What?
Doesn't always
Okay,
fly
well, why
legally.
don't you sit at the table with them and discuss it? Because they're sitting on a lot of money too.
With who?
Salisbury and Raleigh.
We have.
Salisbury and Raleigh, I have tried with Salisbury and Raleigh,
Yeah.
and Raleigh does not, Raleigh has Verizon in their town, and they believe that Their whole, programming is funded through Verizon, so therefore they do not want to get,
No, it's
involved with Comcast. Salisbury already is an active partner in, they've provided Triton with the most help for that. It is my hope and my wish and my prayer that the town of Newbury can someday turn on the educational channel and watch live Triton programming, watch school committee meetings live, watch school concerts live, watch football games live. I have been working for that since
I know that.
2012. I feel as if I'm this close to being there, and I'm going to continue to push it. But I need the Board of Selectmen, the entire Board of Selectmen, to vote in favor of that, of taking some of that Comcast money and making that vision come true. And to date, it hasn't happened.
Okay,
And why has it happened? It hasn't happened. I don't know.
I appreciate your effort. Like tonight, my wife called, sent me a text, tonight's meeting's not being live. Okay, that's the kind of thing, these things should be live. Tonight was about the warrants, very important. It should be live. And with that, thank you tonight, thank you for your time.
Why isn't it live?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yes.
I'm Magda, I live on Wayside Ave in Butterfield.
Sorry, what's your name?
Magda Aliberti, Wayside Ave. And Saturday night, I was trying to get down my road and love the rusty can. Glad it's in the neighborhood, but they were parked in the street, literally blocking the road. I did ask the police to come down when they kept questioning me about it, but then when they came down, they themselves, I went up to take pictures, they themselves came by at the same time. I'm taking pictures and the cop car went one way, and because you could only get one car by, if you wanna look at it, this is where the road ends, and that's where the cars are parking now, where they're literally in the middle of the street. So the cop car went by and I'm like, wow, he's not going in to talk to them. So then I'm still taking pictures from the other side, and as soon as I started taking pictures from the other side, the cop car is coming back this way, and a customer pulled out and he almost like hit the cop car and him, and that's when the cop car went into the building. So I'm just wondering, what can we do about the rusty can? Speaking to their customers who come time and time again, I mean, these are repeat customers, I know people from Boston who come up here, but not to park in it. We love them, God bless, they're a thriving business, but on the opposite side of, right in front of their door, is a whole other parking space, but they're parking in our road. They're blocking fire, they're blocking police, and I'm concerned.
May I? Okay, good point, has been brought up by many other folks.
This is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and James and I went out and walked it just the other day and measured out exactly where the lines are gonna go. The painting contractor is coming in to paint lines right on the curve of the road where it's supposed to go. We're negotiating with Ronnie Pearson, who owns the thing, where the entrance is going to be. Because we can't paint a solid line, people can't get over it. So it
So our
is in the
tax
process.
money is paying for
The
lines
lines are gonna be
to,
painted probably within a month.
but see, and then I'm saying to myself, well, why can't they just put out 3 horses that say, do not park in the road? These are repeat customers, they know the road. It's like, and honestly, when I first moved up here, when I came to even look at my house, I went down the road and I said, this isn't a road. So I get what's happening,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's so easy to put out cones. This was dangerous on Saturday night. I mean, this wasn't a joke. This, and then the guy who pulled out wasn't even looking where he was going. It was just, I'm just backing up. No, you're in a road, you know, so. I'm just saying, put out cones for now.
I
Put
agree
out,
with you, we
put out
certainly
horses that
need
say,
to delineate
do
it.
not park in
We
the
just
road.
paved it last year,
it looks
really?
lovely.
yeah, and we just haven't gotten around to doing the paving yet. And
Yeah, but
So
even,
what do you mean you're
even,
paving it? Is it a private road or is it a private?
No, it's Wayside Ave, the public way.
It
So-
starts as Fruit Street and it
Fruit
goes to
Street.
Wayside Ave.
Since we have
And
two
then it
of our
becomes Wayside Ave.
public safety officers here, do either of you have a recommendation about the best way to handle this situation moving forward until the lines are painted?
Yeah, absolutely. If there are issues, call the police station. We will contact the
I did, but I
understand-
got a lot of
understand Saturday
pushback,
night.
I got a lot of pushback from the, I mean, it was nice, but it was still
Well-
like, well, did you do this, and we've heard this, and then it's like, but why am I doing the work?
You shouldn't
And
be.
then when I'm hearing it's a repeat over and over and
Well,
over,
this is the first time I'm hearing of it.
from
So-
me,
Yeah, from anybody. This is the first time I'm hearing of the overflow. It hasn't reached my desk. However, listening to you, you should not be getting any pushback from the police at all if that's happening. That will be dealt with immediately. Anytime there's an issue and they're out in a public way, you should call us. We will come down and we will deal with it, and you will not get any pushback.
it wasn't it wasn't negative, but he just kept questioning, and I'm like, wait,
There-
a minute, the road
I'm
is
sure it was
blocked.
Saturday night, and there were other things going on as well, and I'm sure he tried to get as much detailed information. However, with the road paved and the parking lot, it's very difficult to delineate where the public way is and where,
Yep.
but Saturday night, from what you're saying, it was obvious that cars were in the public way, only one car could get down. That should be dealt with immediately, that shouldn't be an issue, that
Well,
shouldn't be a problem.
And so then today, when I came to talk to the town clerk, and then she said to come to the meeting tonight, and then, but she also said about the fire department, so I would need to know who to contact if that happens again, because it's a dangerous, who do I
You call,
call?
contact the police department, because we have the authority to tow the cars if they won't move them. But when the car is in the public way, we will come down, we will give the person a chance to move it first, we'll call the restaurant, we wanna try, but if it's.
Even, you know, I don't wanna be the one going into town, it's not my job to do
And we
that.
deal with this
and
on
that's
Plum
how I
Island
felt.
every day in the summertime, so.
Oh, with people parking on the road.
Yeah, so it's not a strange issue to us, it just is unusual for Byfield, but I'm very happy the Rusty Can's doing well because it's
Me
great
too.
food. However,
It's not a big shop, yay.
however, the parking
It's a legit
issues,
business.
if they're becoming a public nuisance and a problem, then absolutely, you should call every time. And,
But I don't even want it to be thought of that way, and I don't even want it to get there, it's just like,
Right, but
the other half of that parking lot is empty. Like, all they have to do
we
is walk
can't
10
do
feet
anything
to the
about it
road.
unless we know about it, so we need people to call.
Yeah,
And what we can do, and what I will do tomorrow, I'll go there for lunch, which is awesome, but I will talk to the
yeah,
manager.
there's nothing negative about
Right.
them being there
No,
at
no,
all, that
no,
was
no.
just a
And
dangerous.
what I'll do is I will talk to the manager about, on the busy nights, to have a sign inside about parking. Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, we'll come, if they're in the road, we'll tow them if they won't move, so.
Right, and that's what he was saying in the end, but it was like, I'm not here to create a negative environment.
And I think once the lines are painted on the roadway, and that's
I'm not,
awesome,
no, I'm
I
not
think it will help.
sure, I'm not sure, that's why something.
No, I'm convinced, they don't even know the bounds of the parking lot of the road.
Exactly.
And even I didn't know that was a road, honestly, when I moved here, and even I had friends come visit, and they're like, where are you? It's like, they go right by, it looks like an industrial, and I get that.
I will put it on the
It's a very
patrol
deceptive
advisory as
road.
well, especially for weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, and afternoons. I will make sure that a cruiser goes through there quite often to make sure the parking situation is decent. And if it seems to be encroaching on the road, I'll have the officer go inside and ask the manager to ask people to move their cars.
My disappointment is that I just keep hearing it, that this has been brought up before, I mean, and nothing's been addressed to, like I'm saying, put horses, put cones, there's no big deal.
Like
Set it before
I
you set up your
apologize, it's the
restaurant.
first time it's crossed.
Yeah,
my
I've
desk.
not
Not
heard of
my
this
desk.
I have
before,
not
so
heard of it.
It's the first time I'm hearing
As
it.
soon as it was brought up, we went down and addressed it.
Okay,
And we have the painter already coming to do it. So just give us time to
that
do it,
part, yeah,
okay?
but I'm
Alright.
telling you, people,
Yeah.
There'll be
If they're not,
there'll be a patrol
if something-
advisory immediately.
Thank you
I'll be
for
back at
bringing
the
it up.
station tonight.
yeah,
I'll have that in there.
I didn't have a choice, I couldn't get on the road.
You did the right
Thank
thing
you.
by coming here, thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
it was fascinating.
Any other citizens' concerns? Okay, seeing none. Jen?
Yes, could I just follow up on a couple of things that Mr. Doyle brought up regarding, Selectman Greco was saying she wasn't able to make it happen, you're this close with the Comcast and you haven't been able to make it happen. Can you clarify what you mean by that? I'm not, are you saying that you haven't been able to get this other selectman to join you? Are you saying it hasn't been put on the agenda? How is it not happening?
It's just, we've negotiated the contract, it just seems to be dragging out.
With Comcast?
No, Comcast is just like, it's the committee that's no longer there. It's just been a series of unfortunate events, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah,
But
so,
we've also been working with Brian Lathrop, Brian Forget, and Bob
Yes.
Lathrop, and Comcast to assess their needs and see what we
Right.
can do about
Right,
them.
so it's moving
And
now.
yourself and me have also discussed, you know, maybe it's not legally proper to put a studio there, but there are probably still ways we can help them out with equipment purchases and things.
Is that Triton you're talking
Yeah,
about?
but I
Yes.
don't know legally, but it's not proven for us, I don't think.
Right, we're still.
Not
be-
proven
being in-
because of the other, it's regional.
Being in open negotiation with
You
contracts,
can't talk to
with the
them.
contract, we gotta be careful what we say.
Sure, I hear that. But in terms of, and maybe this ties into it, at the last meeting, there was a woman, I think it might have been Evelyn Noyes, who said she wanted to hear better sound for her grandchildren's play, you know, concert or something. What's the deal with that? $50,000, why is that dragging?
I don't know about.
We've never, or I've never
Me
seen
neither.
on my desk a request from the Triton Regional School District for
So that's what would have to happen.
$50,000.
We-
Yeah, there's a process, they would come in and they would
With
request funding.
with Superintendent Forget, we have a very good relationship. I've complimented him on that many times, because when I came in and I used to kind of pay attention to the old days, communications was strained. I mean, I feel like our communications with Triton are pretty streamlined and open. I have nothing but good things to say about them. We're a phone call away from Triton if they
He's
need
good
us.
to work with. So what I'm hearing you say is, it may be that Ms. Noyes needs to go to Triton and talk about her concern, and then they come to you. That's,
That would be
maybe the
helpful.
process hasn't happened that way?
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that the selectmen are on board with your ideas, or?
I mean, we're still in flux. The town hall project that had a studio design into it got shot down by the voters.
Right.
And we're still in flux. Where town hall ends up at the end of the day, we're not sure yet. One thing we've covered is the studio doesn't belong connected to the police station because of
Okay.
security reasons and public access at the hours that would need to be accessible. So I mean, it's still all in flux and it's still being
And
discussed.
also you don't think it's appropriate in Triton, is that, because I thought that that's what the consultant said, but is that what you guys don't?
I'm not sure the legalities of it. There are 3 towns involved, not just
So
one.
that's the regional thing again.
Exactly, and that's one of the complications of
You'd
having a
have to have
regional
everybody
school system.
contributing to it. Can I ask you one more quick question? Does anybody, Selectman Bear or anybody know whether or not there's gonna be a candidate tonight this year?
Haven't heard a thing yet.
Nothing yet, okay.
But I think, Jen, it is safe to say that the selectmen do support the Triton Media Program, and we have decided to fund our part of bringing them up to current standards in that program, so that they can stream live and get the video equipment that they need. So we have,
So you're ready to do your part and you're waiting to hear from the other 2 towns, is that fair?
we're not even waiting to hear from them.
No.
We're just waiting for
Negotiations to get resolved?
for the
Quotes from Triton.
school to tell us what they actually need.
Oh, okay.
Exactly, we're still working with them to assess their needs. They provided us some quotes, so we're working on it. There's forward progress. Then I don't get the sense from Triton that they're frustrated or frothing at the mouth. They use something that is called tightrope, correct me if I'm incorrect, which it's a little bit of older technology, but they're familiar with it. They're fairly happy with what's going on here, but we've been actually leading the charge as far as the school's concerned. And we pulled them into a meeting with us to discuss these issues, and like I said, they're comfortable with what they have, they're open to suggestions, and they're open to moving into the future. But as of a couple months ago, we didn't even know where the fiber wire was buried. You know, we pulled the engineer into this very room to meet with us to identify where is everything, what is it?
Contracts engineer.
Exactly, where is everything, what is everything, and what do we need to give them the ability to broadcast live?
Okay.
So,
Thank
and
you.
this is still in flux. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Gary Stobert, 4 Johnson Lane, right down the street in Byfield. And something was mentioned earlier about having a discount for senior citizens with Comcast, and I would ask you, when you negotiate, to push it for all senior citizens like myself, because we're on pensions, we're on Social Security, and we just keep getting whacked by Comcast every year. And rather than accepting the fact that it's only for certain seniors at a lower income, I ask you to push it and try to take care of all senior citizens in town, in town,
Okay.
and get a break for all of us as seniors.
Yes.
But it doesn't hurt that, I was a negotiator when I was working, I was a buyer.
The negotiations
And
is,
you ask,
the negotiations is still,
but ask push for it,
Yes, we have
Okay.
asked,
ask harder.
I will ask Carter when
Okay.
we meet again, but
Just remember, we gotta be careful what we say.
Yeah, right, but at the very least, I would like to see the town of Newbury treated as equitably as other towns around here, because currently we are not.
We're paying our bills.
Salisbury's one.
Mike, do you have something you wanna say? Come on up.
Okay, thank you. I met with Brian Budgetary and Rob Wafer, and they do have something that they want, is the library with school committee, budgets, meeting, they want that, I think it's a $70,000 system. And they said they need that because I guess the material in there now, they'll cut out in the middle of a meeting, takes them 10 minutes to reboot it, a lot of stuff happens in that 10 minutes. So they will come to you with suggestions, okay? Thank you.
The door has been open for Triton, and it will continue to be. Any other citizens' concerns tonight? So seeing none, do we have any warrants? Okay, any meeting updates from anybody?
You go first.
As I talked about last meeting, the bucket trucks come in, I went down and looked at it. All the guys have been trained on it, they're very excited to start working with it. I've started talking with James and Tim about whether or not we need to change any policies around tree removal and pruning in town to make sure that it goes smoothly. And it's an incredible machine, so I think the town has made a really wise purchase, and that's gonna serve us well.
At the district communications, the chair of the school committee has been, the last district communications subcommittee meeting, chair of the school committee mentioned that they would like residents and stakeholders in the Triton Regional School District to write letters to our legislatures. For us, Newbury, it would be Lenny Mera and Bruce Tarr. And about the inadequacy in the Chapter 70 reimbursements for the Taylor schools and statements. I don't want to get into it again, but you guys know the whole backstory about the state. So, has the town, do you know, Tracy, has the town submitted a letter on behalf of the town of Newbury to?
We have in the past, I don't think we have anything
Recently?
this
Okay, so
fiscal year.
if I get you the draft that Narissa put out, I mean, I think you might already have it in an email, because I got it from, yeah, there is a letter. If we could I make a motion that we, as a town, send a letter to, because this is, it's very important, and I don't want Newbury to be silent on it.
Go.
So I move that we send a letter to our state representatives and senators to advocate for Chapter 70,
Regional funding.
regional, yeah, the changes to the Chapter 70 funding and the full reimbursement of the circuit breaker and the full reimbursement of the regional transportation and the letter. So there's a template letter out there, if we could just send that off.
Second that lengthy motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, there are a lot of things that, you know, in the late 70s when Triton opened up, the state promised as incentives for regionalizing, and they've slowly backed off of these things, and it's unfortunate, but it's left towns with regional schools really pulling it back.
Ed Reform did a number or two in '93 too. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is, in June, there's a Saturday in June, and Ellen, I can get you the date. There's a Massachusetts Selectmen's Association meeting in, I believe it's Sharon, Mass. It's a Saturday meeting, it's one that I would like to attend. One of the things that they're gonna talk, and everybody's welcome to join me, but one of the things that they're gonna talk about is social media and the presence, as how to get your town up and running with a social media, which I think this town desperately needs. So, I can talk to you about it. Yeah, but it's not, we do have a town Facebook page. There's a better way to manage it. I attended at the Massachusetts Municipal Association meeting when I went January, I attended a workshop on this. And, I can fill you in on it later, but
Okay.
I'm hoping that this, I can get some more information on this because in June, but I wanna go, it's like $35.
Okay.
Anybody wanna join us?
An application.
Yeah. We can talk about it offline if you want.
I wish it was now instead of in June, so I'm gonna have to give you maybe June.
That's the latest one that there is, I mean, the next one for the selectmen that I can find.
Okay.
Sharon, yeah.
Any other
It's on
meeting
Saturday
updates?
morning.
Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Bye.
Aye.